everyone, and welcome to this speed training on interviewing in the tech industry. I'm Cal.
And I'm Bryant, and we're from Portland Community College, working in collaboration with WorkSource Portland Metro and WorkSystems Inc. to provide Oregon job seekers with the resources they need to succeed in their careers.
In this training, we'll talk about preparing for your interview, we'll offer tips and tricks for acing the interview, and we'll also discuss the best way to follow up to make a great impression. So, let's get started. Think about preparing for your interview as a three-step process. Research the company, practice for the interview, and plan out your day, including what you'll wear and how you'll get to the interview. So let's start by talking about research. You probably already researched the company when you wrote your targeted cover letter and resume, but now you'll want to research even more. Find out the company's mission, values, learn about their culture, their customers or clients, and their products or services. This will help you best be able to answer the interview questions.
And once you've done your research, give some thought as to how your own values, skills, and experience align with the organization. And be prepared to talk about why you want to work there and how you can contribute immediately.
Next up, it's time to practice. You don't need to memorize scripted answers, but practicing with a friend or even just in front of the mirror can help you feel more prepared for the interview. If you simply Google most common interview questions for whichever job you're applying for, you'll get a lot of ideas of things you can use to prepare for your interview. We'll actually include a list of commonly asked interview questions at the end of this video. So if you'd like to start your practicing right away, just pause the video when you see the questions pop up.
In addition to practicing specific interview questions, it also helps to work on your targeted elevator pitch, as the first question of most interviews is something along the lines of, "Please tell me about yourself." Make sure to be concise and to keep it targeted to the role you're interviewing for.
Many employers use what's called behavioral interview questions. These are questions that start with something along the lines of, "Tell me about a time when." So a great way to prepare for these questions and for your interview as a whole is to think back on stories where you had to overcome challenges. These can be stories from school, work, or volunteer experience. Your answer should include a brief description of the challenge at hand, what you did to solve the challenge, the skills and qualities you used, and what the result was. So you always want to use examples that ended in a positive way, or do a great job of showing what you learned from the experience and how you moved on and became a stronger employee.
In addition to preparing for the interview questions, it's also helpful to plan out your day so that you don't run into any stressful situations. Know in advance what you're going to be wearing to the interview, how you're going to get there, and where you can park if you're driving.
Before we move on, here's a checklist for you. Feel free to pause the video and write out your own to-do list for preparing for your interview.
There are many different types of interviews. Phone interviews, Skype interviews, one-on-one interviews, panel interviews, group interviews, but the basic concepts for each are the same.
Remember that every step in the process is part of the interview. How you interact over the phone or over email leading up to your interview will have an impact on the impression you make.
And you should treat every person you meet as a potential decision maker.
And here are a few basic do's and don'ts for the actual interview.
Do be mindful of your nonverbal communication. Sit up tall, make eye contact, smile, and try not to fidget too much.
Don't assume that your interviewer has your resume memorized. Instead, call out relevant highlights from your past work experience that help sell you as a candidate.
Do show your enthusiasm for the employer and the role you're interviewing for.
Don't badmouth your past employers, colleagues, partners, or clients. This will leave your future employer wondering if you would do the same to them.
Do be prepared to talk about your strengths and weaknesses. Make sure you choose a strength that is relevant to the job and choose a weakness that is not essential to the job at hand. And it's also best practice if you can spin a weakness into a strength by showing how you overcame it.
Don't be afraid to ask a follow-up question if you're unsure of what the interviewer is asking you. It would be better to ask for clarification than to answer the wrong question.
Do come ready to ask your own questions, but make sure they aren't questions that can be easily found with a quick Google search. Some of my favorites are, what are some of the biggest challenges working here? Or, what do you like best about this job?
There are so many tips we could give about interviewing, but in the end, the interview is just about showing you can do the job, you're a great cultural fit, and you're a reliable person who would be easy to work with. So finally, let's talk about follow-up.
The interview isn't over when you leave the office. Be sure to send a thank you email or note within 24 hours of your interview.
Use your thank you note to reiterate your interest in the position and the company, to thank the interviewer for their time, and to address anything that came up in the interview that required follow-up.
Sometimes it can take a while to hear back, but don't write off a position until you do. Use this time to keep your online presence looking professional and strong, and also use this time to continue applying and networking until you land that perfect role.
If you don't hear back from the employer by the time they said they'd reach out, it is okay to follow up. Just keep your communication polite and brief, and ask if there's anything else you can provide to help them in their decision-making process. There are so many things we could share about interviewing, but in the end, it's important to remember that an interview is simply a conversation between two adults.
And it's important to also remember that it's normal to be nervous, so do what you need to take good care of yourself leading up to any interview.
That's a great point. Bryant, what do you do to take care of yourself before an interview?
So I like to exercise, so for me that often means I'll show up to an interview a little early so I have time to take a walk around the block. What about you, Cal?
I like to call a friend or family member to get a little pep talk, a little confidence boost, and when I'm waiting for the interview to start, I like to practice deep breathing.
Excellent. Don't let your nerves get the best of you, so remember the most important things you can do are to practice and to prepare. You should also visit your local WorkSource Portland Metro office for some of their resources and strategies. They can even provide mock interview practice.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for watching this video today, and best of luck on your job search.